Hi everyone, welcome to this blog post. What we're going to be working on here is a way of taking an in-text form and actually taking the data from an in-text form and having a way to actually convert it into a PDF format. Now this is a workaround, this isn't an official way of doing it, but it's just a workaround to get it to a PDF form. So what we have here is a SharePoint list. Now what I'm going to do is actually open up the in-text form, but from what you can see, there's a country field, a number of states field, population and country code. This is basically like adding a new country to a list. Now if I open up my form, and I've already customized the form, so I won't go into a whole lot of detail about that, but you can see it's pretty horrible looking. We've got a few fields here, but what we also have is a control right there, which is a calculated value control, and you can see that over here on the left. And all it does is takes the population value that somebody has typed in and runs it through a particular formula. So that's it. Now the interesting thing to note here is that this calculated value control is actually not connected to a field on this SharePoint list. So if you see I have this control highlighted and you look at the top here, it says connected to, and it's not connected. But it does have a name called estimated population. Now what we'll do is we'll actually close this down. We'll go and create a new item and we'll call it what land, number of states 5, population 500, country code WL, and you'll see we've done a bit of a calculation, so now we have 690. Okay, item has been created. Now what I'm going to do is actually start a workflow off, and I'll show you what this workflow is doing in the actual design. So while this is running, I'm actually going to jump over here to the actual workflow design. So what we're doing is we have actual two-step process here. We have a document library here called content control templates. Now what this is a Word document that has some content controls in it. So I'm going to jump to the actual Word document and show you what that looks like. And you can see here it looks similar to the form that I created. It has all those fields and it has some of these content controls here. So what really I tried to do here is basically make a Word document that looks very similar to my actual form design. So you can see same logo. I do have some text here which I didn't have in my form, but I can put that in there quite easily. I did break this up into a table. Again, it looks a little bit like the form. It's not exactly the same, but I want something similar. So I want something that creates a PDF that looks like the original form. So I tried to make this as close as I could in the time frame I had. Now this document lives in this content control templates, and what we're doing here is we're first building a couple of strings. First of all, we're going to build a string to our destination document library where we're going to create the actual document file. Here's a docx file, and we store that URL in a variable in text workflow. We're also creating another URL that's basically the same, but it has .pdf instead of .docx. Now, you noticed how I had some fields in my form that were linked to, some controls in my form that were linked to fields on my list, but there was one calculated value control that wasn't. So in order to read that data, I need to read from the XML that gets stored behind the scenes of that form instance. So this is where I use this query XML action. And it's really easy to do. All you do is you specify the actual XML and a little bit of XPath. So you can see here for the XML, I've actually inserted an item property called form data on premise. This is where the XML version of that form instance is kept in a hidden field called form data. The XPath is really easy, 2 forward slashes and the name of the control that I want to pull out the data from, and I'm storing that in a text variable and making sure that the result is actually the internal text. Then what we do is we do a run if, this is just to make sure that the calculation worked and we pulled out the data that we want. And then we use this update document action. So let's open this up. Now this particular action, I've actually hard-coded a URL to that Word document, to that Word document with the content controls. And you can see here, what we're doing is we're taking each of those content controls and we're inserting values into them. So I have a control called CTL country, and I've actually inserted If I open this little insert reference window up, I've gone to my item properties and I've selected country, and that's what I'm, and that's what I'm inserting into that control. So I'm basically taking an instance of this Word document, and this is my CTL country. You can actually see that right there. And I'm replacing the contents of it with the data from my workflow. I have another control called CTL number of states, doing the same thing in the workflow here, number of states. There's the control name, and I'm replacing it. And also this estimated population, where instead of a field from my list, I'm actually using my in-text workflow variable that I pulled out of the XML. Now what I'm doing finally here is the output URL. I'm telling it to go and create it in my output document library, and that's going to create the docx file. The final, or two final actions are the convert document action. This convert document action will take a Word document based on a particular URL and convert it to a PDF. Okay, so that's an easy one. And then finally, we just want to delete that temporary docx file. So while this is being processed, if I jump to that PDF forms for Nintex, this is my document library of all my documents. You'll see there's my Word document. So I could actually click on this, open it up, and you'll see when it loads up that all the data is in there from that workflow. You can see that Wetland 500 does the calculations, pull that out as well. So now as the process has moved on, we can see we now have a PDF in here, and then shortly the Word document will actually get deleted. So if I open up this PDF file, let's try to zoom out a little bit, you can see it gives me something similar to what my form looked like. Now, of course, you can make this look like anything you want, but it does give you this the PDF format of the data that you had in your in-text form. So if I open this up, you'll see this is very similar to what you'll see. And of course, I could tweak this, remove these lines, put the same label as this onto here, move that image across, really make it look the same as I want the PDF to look like, or vice versa, make the PDF look exactly like the form. But this is one way, and it literally took me a few minutes to put together the Word document with the controls that I want, and then just use this particular workflow. This workflow, it's really hard to make this generic, so you would need to have built out this kind of process for each of the different PDFs you want to convert to, or different forms you want to convert to PDF. But you can see there's really not that much to it. Putting the URLs together, that's fairly generic. Pulling out the query XML will be specific to a particular form. I can get rid of this log in the history list action, and then the run if is really just for me doing a check. You don't need to have that either. So at the moment we have 3 actions. Then you want this update document to create the new Word document. That's the 4th action. 5th action is the convert document, and then the 6th one is delete. So really you could have all this done with 6 actions in in-text workflow, and really spending a few minutes just putting together a Word document that looks like a little bit like your in-text form, until we actually have proper conversion of in-text forms to PDF. So hopefully this helps you getting your in-text forms data into a PDF format, and feel free to leave any comments at the end of this post.